All right. Doctors Without Borders, also known as MSF, has released the findings on an internal review into the 2021 killings of the three of its staff in Ethiopia's Tigray region. The report concludes that the attack was deliberate and raises serious concerns about the lack of accountability. To unpack these findings and what they mean for the safety of humanitarian workers, we're now joined by Raquel Ayora, General Director of MSF Spain. Raquel, thank you so much for making the time. Welcome to Channel Africa.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so briefly take us through the key findings of MSF's and your internal review. How do you conclude that the killings were indeed intentional?
Well, we conducted this review, putting together a lot of information, including forensic analysis of pictures, images, and obviously we had the information of the team that collected the bodies of our colleagues. And as well the evidence of the bodies themselves. So what the first and most important finding is that we know how our colleagues were killed. So they were killed at very short range. They were shot several times. All of them were presenting several gunshot wounds in their bodies. As I was saying, they were shot at very close range, and they were facing their attackers at the moment of being killed. They were wearing their MSF Doctors Without Borders jackets, their vests, their white vests with their logos. The car was fully identified as well with the Doctors Without Borders flag. So they were clearly civilians, very clearly identified as humanitarian workers, and in our opinion, killed clearly intentionally. There were no indications of active fighting at the time of the killings, and there was obviously not a mistake. On top of that, what we found out collecting the evidence and the accounts of many of our colleagues and witnesses is that in the weeks before the incident, there was an increase in hostility against humanitarian workers. So our colleagues were having more increasing problems getting across the points and conducting the medical activities and humanitarian activities. They were confronting a lot of hostile reactions by the ENDF troops and their allies. As well, there was a clear hostility in the public speeches of the federal governments against the humanitarian workers. Yeah. And then there was a difficult moment in the conflict because the ENDF was about to withdraw to retreat from Tigray, and there was a convoy of the ENDF in the vicinity of the place where our colleagues were killed.
Yeah, it seems to me that you have evidence that the killings were indeed intentional. What do you then make of the failure of the parties engaged to respond accordingly to the tragedy?
Well, obviously, this kind of processes of accountability require a lot of political courage, and we know it's not an easy thing, no, to get involved, to conduct a proper investigation and conclude, and share the conclusions of this investigation. We know that it takes a lot of political will to go there. It hasn't happened so far, so we engage with both parties, both the TPLF as well as the federal authorities for 4 years. At some points, we were reassured that there was going to be an investigation. Then we were told that there was an ongoing investigation by the federal authorities, with which investigation we were really willing to collaborate. We made available to them all our findings, our version of this internal report, as well as the evidence that was in our hands. But for longer than 1 year and a half, we haven't had any follow-up meeting with them. We have been requesting meeting them once and again, and we have been met with silence and neglect. So we think that there is no political will to really conduct the investigation and give proper accountability to this case.
Yeah, Raquel, so what do you hope for in releasing the findings of your internal review now? What are the reasons behind releasing it now?
As I was saying, it has been 4 years, and 4 years is a long time for the families, it's a long time for us, and for the humanitarian community as well. No? We think that this is a very important conversation to be had right now. This not only because this case is important for us and for the families, as I was saying, but because there is a growing trend of attacks and killings of humanitarian workers and medical workers across the world, in zones of conflict and violence. And we think that is the time to really refresh this conversation upon the memory of our case, and ask for this accountability. And this needs to be a building block of a safer environment for humanitarian workers. We feel a sense of urgency to really bring this case and what this case means to the attention of power actors, authorities, states, for them to recommit with the protection of humanitarian workers.
Yeah, and we do know that you're not the only organization losing staff in conflict zones. In your view, what needs to happen then to ensure the protection of humanitarians at all times?
As I was saying, I think that we are going through a process of normalization of the killings of humanitarian workers. So this is happening. We see more and more authorities, parties, senior political members of governments and states just speaking against humanitarian workers and creating the conditions for them to be targeted in the field. We think that there is a need for a recommitment of the states and the armies to the loss of war. We think that the wars need to be regulated, and there is a need to restate and recommit to the protection of humanitarian workers and civilians in zones of conflict.
Yeah, but Raquel, sorry to cut in. Which body do you think will be key and central in making sure that this happens?
It's a matter of the states. Are the states the ones that need to be willing to recommit with those laws? We can resort to the United Nations. We can resort to international justice. We can resort to a number of bodies, normative or legal. But at the end of the day, what we need is a commitment of the states and the governments and the armies to fulfill their obligations in the conduct of military activities and the war.
Yeah, and what impact has this tragedy had on your operations in Ethiopia and other high-risk areas?
Well, obviously, this is a shock, this is a trauma for our organization. While we stay after the killings, we withdrew from Tigray because there was so much uncertainty about the circumstances of the killings that we didn't think that it was a safe environment for us. Obviously, we're hopeful to get this clarification of the circumstances by the hands of the authorities and the parties. So we stay in the country conducting operations for 2 years before deciding to fully withdraw from the country. Whereas there are other members of the Doctors Without Borders movement that are still operating. MSF Spain decided to withdraw in 2023. And it has been a shock for us. Now we had been operating in the Spanish section has been operating in Ethiopia for decades, and it is a country in which we think that we have spared thousands and thousands of patients, and it's a very sad occurrence for us.
Yeah. Now that you released the findings, has there been any reaction from the Ethiopian authorities? And if any, what do you want them to say?
Nothing at all. We haven't heard from them. The day before the release of the report, we went again back to Addis Ababa. We sent them a letter. We tried to release by hand a copy of the report, and we offered ourselves to continue, with the engagement and the conversation. But we haven't heard from them, and we are still willing to engage. We know that this is a bold step on our side to go public after 4 years of trying to get something in bilateral. We hope that they understand that this is not about putting blame. This is about really, it's a moral obligation on our sides to really share what we know about what happened to our colleagues, and it's their obligation to continue with the investigation and to either prove us wrong or right, and continue and with this investigation that was still ongoing. That was ongoing at least 1 year and a half ago, and make themselves accountable. I think that I hope that this will happen sooner or later, and we are very very willing to keep engaging with.
Yeah, Raquel, just before I let you go, what message do you have then for the families of Maria Tadros and Johannes, and for the aid workers still in the fields? What message do you have for them to encourage them? I know this can be tiring, but what do you have for them?
For the families, we need to give them more than what we have managed to give them so far in terms of accountability. We have done our best, and as I was saying, now it's a matter of the states, and not only the Ethiopian states. I think that's the European Union and other states across the world really need to push for accountability in this kind of cases. This is something that is very much needed for the families. And then for the rest of my colleagues, what they know, and I think that what we have proven is that we don't give up. We think is every time that a colleague is unfortunately wounded or killed in this kind of incidents, we pursue accountability, we pursue the clarification of the circumstances, and we pursue to create a safer environment for our colleagues.
All right, Raquel, thank you so much for making the time, and we wish you all the best with the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, there you have it. Raquel Ayora, General Director at Doctors Without Borders, also known as MSF.